Good morning, eCognition oil palm application users, and hopefully we have some potential users on the line this morning, at least morning for me here coming from Central Europe, where it's a cold, balmy, -3 degrees out. It's hard to get in the mood for oil palm and these temperatures, but we'll do our best today. My name is Keith Peterson. I am the Trimble eCognition product manager and also responsible for our eCognition oil palm application software. I'm very happy to announce today that we have released version 2.0 of this application. The release went out on Tuesday, November 12th. So anybody with an active maintenance contract immediately got access to this software. And now I'm really excited to jump into this webinar. We're going to review what the eCognition oil palm application is and then go into some technical demonstrations. So we'll get right into the presentation. First of all, what is Trimble eCognition oil palm application? What's new then in this version 2.0? We have a lot of new great functionality to demonstrate. We'll look at this directly in a technical demonstration, and then we'll open up for questions and answers. But I should mention the rules of the webinar before we start. Everybody is in listen-only mode. This is intentional. You can chat with us at any time. I have a great wingman on the webinar today, Christian Weise, our market manager. So if you submit questions via the question field, we can answer those directly via the chat, or we will also be taking and fielding some questions during the webinar itself.
Thank
Just a reminder. Oh, hi,
Keith.
Christian.
Hi, Keith. Hi, guys. Keith, please share your screen.
I am not sharing my screen. I apologize for that.
No
Here
problem.
we go.
Great.
Problem solved. Here we go. So we're in the overview. We will also, like I said, be taking questions during the webinar, so please feel free. We'll open up. If anything's unclear, please let us know. We're here for you today to do this. And we will also be open to questions at the end. And just a reminder, the webinar will be recorded. We will make this freely available to anybody that is registered for the webinar. You will automatically receive access to the recording when it's available. In addition, we also make all our webinars available on our YouTube channel, eCognition TV. Okay, so let's get into the webinar now. And we'll first talk about what is the eCognition oil palm app, or as we abbreviate it, OPA. First of all, the eCognition oil palm application is an out-of-the-box solution really designed for the identification and analysis of oil palms, as the name implies. It's incredibly easy to use. We've put a very nice and simple graphical user interface around this application. And it guides the users through the automated workflow. That being said, it requires very little ramp-up time, and by that we mean you don't need to be familiar with traditional elements of eCognition software. You also don't need to be necessarily a GIS professional in order to leverage this application and get great results. So it's a very simple startup. But you can also use this product with additional Trimble products and platforms. For example, you can combine the eCognition oil palm application with the TBC APM or UAS Info UAS master packages. These go hand in hand with a product like the oil palm application, because you collect data with a UAV, you need to do some type of processing of that data, generate those ortho photos, for example. That's where TBC APM and UAS master come into play. And then we jump right into eCognition to do the analysis part of the equation. So that those products can be combined and complement each other quite well. What are the benefits of the eCognition oil palm application? First of all, we get precise and accurate information and a great overview of the current state of our plantation. I say current state because it's the state of when we fly it with the UAV. We can create actionable information directly from our UAV data sets. that can immediately be used by plantation operators. And this allows us to make faster and better decisions on a per tree, per palm basis. And eventually we will increase our production yields and drive a more sustainable operation of the plantation through the tools that are available in the oil palm application. Very important to talk about input and then of course the output, what we're going to get out of it. First of all, input, you can use RGB or our near-infrared enabled camera systems for the input. Orthomosaics, that's important. Have to have your orthophotos. So let's process those well ahead of time. The better the quality of your data, the better and more accurate the quality of the automated results will be. You can use a DSM for elevation input. We recommend the use of the DSM. After all, you're creating it and you need it to generate your orthomosaics. So just bring that into the oil palm application. This will particularly help in the analysis of smaller trees and give you the benefit of extracting any height-related information on those palms. We support various image types, so TIFF, IMG, JPEG, etc. Those can all be used as input. Very important to note is the ground sample distance requirements of this application. Like I said, this is based on UAV data. So you want to have your imagery, so your optical imagery be less than, say, 10 centimeters GSD and something around less than 30 centimeters for that DSM. From these inputs, we can generate quite a lot of information. First of all, palm positions. Of course, we're looking to identify all the palms in your plantation. We can extract these as a point shape file. We have palm crowns, so we can look at the crown size of the various palms you have. We can output blocks if you're creating blocks in the application, which we'll show later. These can also be output as a shapefile with all the various overview statistical attributes attached to them. Gaps, we're looking for holes in the plantation where are trees not being grown, and we can output this as well. Then we also have ghost palms. Ghost palms, these are areas that are not planted where a palm could be physically if it were planted there. So we output this as a shapefile as well, if anybody's interested in that. And we have several reports that we can provide. First of all, a PDF report with a statistical breakdown, as well as, I call it a report here, a CSV file that is ready for direct input into Excel and further statistical analysis or reporting needs. Christian, I see that some hands are up in the background. Are there any questions on input data and output as we move along?
Currently not. I was also see some raised hands. Guys, please use the question window to ask questions if you have some comments or issues or questions, of course. Currently, Keith, there's no question.
Okay, then we will continue. Like I said, you can ask your questions anytime via that question field. And remember, you are in listen-only mode. That's intentional. Use that question dialogue to communicate with us. So what's new in version 2.0 of the oil palm application? Well, we had several motivating factors when developing the software and improving what we had obviously done in version 1.3. First of all, we always strive to increase our accuracy, improve the detection, particularly of medium and small palms, to improve the better overall accuracy, and decrease the need for, say, the time-consuming manual editing that typically took place for these smaller palms. We wanted to expand functionality. We wanted to introduce new tools to support palm addressing, and this would be a more usable palm location information. So not just the coordinate, but the address itself, which is made up of a block ID, a row ID, and then a tree ID. We wanted to add tools for better block editing, allow shifting and node editing of blocks. And we also wanted to have introduce the ability to visualize and use ghost palms within the gaps for better planning purposes. We also wanted to expand the deliverables, so that's the outputs that come out of the OilPalm application that I reviewed earlier. We wanted to have the users have access to an increased number of deliverables, so more information that they could use in GIS or say in Excel for various reporting processes. We also wanted to enhance processing efficiency. We wanted to make things faster. We know we're dealing with large data sets in some regards, and we wanted to just make this faster for the users to go through, and then also save these intermediate steps, make things more user-friendly in general throughout the workflow. Finally, we wanted to improve our user experience, our UX. We wanted to simplify the use of the application and make various actions within the application less dependent on user-defined settings. We wanted to increase the amount of automation that was going on throughout the application. And we also wanted to implement a more modern look and feel to this software. I think we've done that as we'll see in a few moments. Increased accuracy. Yeah, going into here, we've really shifted the whole detection method now within the OilPalm application. We're using one of the hottest technologies on the market today. We've implemented deep learning. Deep learning is driving the detection of the palms. That we have better transferability across the different palm sizes. We have a more robust palm model available within the software. And we have the potential to always improve this model by increasing our sample data that's behind the scenes. In addition, this opens up faster processing. Of course, this will be hardware dependent. If we're using GPUs with an NVIDIA graphics card, we can really speed up the processing within the deep learning methodology here. In terms of the expanded functionality, this palm addressing, so we support this for what I'm saying, organized flat plantations. The addressing is not available for any of the terraced locations, terraced plantations yet. So keep that in mind. There's an automatic detection of the rows based on user orientation parameters. And each tree receives this label that I mentioned earlier, block ID, row ID, and tree ID. And we also consider the ghost trees, so any missing trees that were not planted for various reasons are considered when assigning this address label. We've improved the block editing. Users can shift block polygons, they can create new blocks, they can edit block vertices, all very easily with the new tools. Like I said, we introduced ghost palms, so these are considered in the addressing. That means if a palm is missing, the tree numbers reflect the missing tree in that row. Another great thing that we've added on is a very flexible crown size. So we're no longer limited to those three predefined sizes, small, medium, large. The crown size really reflects the true palm crown size and is much more accurate in giving a better representation of the various palm sizes throughout the plantation. More deliverables. I've highlighted all the new elements here in green. So within the palm positions, this was always a point shape file that we delivered, but we've added new attributes to this, including the address, the row number. So we also have the block ID. The row number is new, palm number within that row is new. We look at the radius of the varying crowns that has been added. Height, I do want to know with height and NDVI that these will depend on your input data. If you do not use a DSM, you cannot calculate the height of a palm, obviously. And if you're not using a near infrared enabled camera, it will not be possible to calculate the NDVI. So those will hinge on the input data that you're using. In addition, we also put out the X and Y coordinates, and we also have a confidence value. This confidence value reflects how well that palm was detected in comparison to the model. Palm crowns, these are a polygon representing the palm crown. So you see that palm crown in white here in the image on the right. They have the same attributes that come with the palm positions. Okay. Plantation blocks, this is again a polygon file. So if you are creating blocks within the application, we can output that block that you created as a shapefile. That comes with block ID, the area, number of palms, mean radius, mean height, mean NDVI. You have the gap area here, number of ghost palms per block, number of anomaly palms per block. You have the palm height as a percentile, as well as the palm radius as a percentile. This is a sort of a range, but we're not looking, we're cutting out some of the outliers for that range. We also have gap area, again, a polygon, and the attributes here are the block ID and of course the area of that gap. So you can see the gap here on the right, again, is this blue polygon that's been added. Ghost palms, this is a completely new output. It's a point shapefile, and the attributes will be of course, the address of that palm, the block ID, row number, and palm number, everything that independently makes up that address. So those are the deliverables, I call them the GIS deliverables, all the outputs that you can bring into your GIS for further mapping and analysis. Christian, are there any questions about these GIS deliverables before I continue?
There are just two questions concerning if satellite data can be also used in this application. And here the answer is yes, if the GSD is high enough. And I'm not so sure if there are 10 centimeter data sets coming from satellites available in the market. Things to check. And I'm not so sure if we have tested this with 30 centimeters satellite data, but I don't think so it will work, but something what the customer can test. But I'm sure you mentioned this, I heard it, and I want to repeat it again. The EarPalm application, the eCognition EarPalm application is made for UAV data, not for satellite data.
I'd just like to add on to that.
Yeah.
If your satellite data is in one of the supported image formats, you can try and load it in. The application itself was based or is based on UAV samples. That means you can attempt to use satellite imagery, but we cannot guarantee the accuracy of the results that come out of this, because the application is based purely on UAV imagery at the moment. So you can try and load in your satellite data if it has a high enough resolution, but you may find that the accuracy is not what you expected. That's due to the fact that the application was designed specifically for UAV at this point.
Thank you very much.
Okay. In terms of increasing our deliverables for reporting, we continue to offer the PDF report. We've simplified this and really concentrated on providing the statistics at a block level. So you have overview statistics available in the PDF report. We've added now, say, a palm report. This is a CSV file. Every single palm that is detected is listed in the CSV file. With the varying attributes there. So it's the same attributes that would be in the shapefile, only in now a CSV format. This allows you to directly import this into Excel and analyze things in, say, an Excel spreadsheet. In addition, we've added a very nice button that you can collect screenshots at any time during your analysis. The user simply clicks the screenshot button, and these screenshots will be saved to the project folder. And finally, you have direct access to your deliverables from the application, very easy. With one click, you can access all of the application deliverables, so all the results coming out of the OilPalm application. And we'll point that out during the demonstration as well. Enhanced processing efficiency. So I mentioned already, we've implemented now a deep learning driven approach. This is faster than previous methods. It's more accurate than previous methods. So the OilPalm application comes with a pre-trained model, and the users can, of course, execute this and then go through various quality control and validation to improve any of the results. You also have a fully automated palm height analysis. This only requires the use of a DSM. You no longer need to add or generate a DTM within the OilPalm application. I will mention too, just to clarify, the use of a DSM is optional, but we recommend this. So you can do your analysis without any elevation data, but our recommendation is of course to use the DSM. After all, you are generating such products when and within the framework of orthophoto creation. So it just makes sense to bring these in and have extra information, have that added accuracy that you'll get through having the DSM. Right, I mentioned the user experience, how we've improved this. We've moved to a completely new architectural user interface for OilPalm 2.0. This allows a more user-friendly interaction with the tools. Again, a more modern-looking software. We've also simplified that workflow. We've removed the need for many of the user-defined thresholding actions that were there previously, and automated the process more. You have easier project setup, easier project storage, and also we've added an HTML help documentation so you can very quickly get into the help literature and search through the documentation for anything that's not clear directly through in the application. So let's take a look at an OilPalm project. I have the application open here in the background. So when we first open OilPalm application, this is what we see, this blank slate, if you will. And the first action that we want to take is to actually create a project. We want to add a new project. So right up here, we can click New Project. We open up this New Project dialog. We can give our plantation a name. I'll just say a plantation. We also have can assign a project name. So if you have within a plantation numerous projects, you can say whatever your plantation name is, project 1, 2, 3. Maybe you're doing this by block, so you could use the block name here to differentiate in your project naming. You can also assign an acquisition date from your imagery, so you can quickly click on the calendar. I'll just use today's date, the 14th of November, for this, and then you also have this reflected in your project information. We then want to upload our input data. So we have the orthophoto, DSM, and the ability to load a block layer, so a shapefile that contains any of our block polygons if that's available. So I'm going to upload my orthophoto here. I have a subset ready. I also have a DSM that goes with it, so I will also use this DSM. I don't have a block layer, so I'll demonstrate how we can use those tools to create blocks in here. And now I just simply click Create. We do some project initialization here, so this might take a few moments to get things ready. You can see the progress bar. Now I have my project ready here. You have two ways to view the projects that are listed in this plantation. So I have a plantation, I have here project. You can use this thumbnail view, and we also have a more of a detailed list view here. The list view is nice because it also gives us a project status. I can see that this project has only been created, nothing has been processed yet. Once processing begins, the status will change to, I believe, a work in progress. And when you export the results, this will be listed as complete. So we can click now this project. We'll open this up. You're immediately in the configure block action. And here you have the option to create blocks. So I'm going to click this plus symbol. I'm going to draw a new block. I can come into an area. I can zoom in using, say, my scroll wheel here, so I can get some details, and maybe I'll draw right along the edge of this this road here. Zoom out again. You can use the scroll wheel to do this, and we'll select a chunk of this this block. Simply click, and I'll come back, and now my block is created. I can create multiple blocks, so I can come over here and create another one if I like. If for whatever reason I made a mistake during my block creation, I can come into the editing tool. So those are marked with this little pencil symbol. I click on the block that I want to edit. You notice that the vertices here are highlighted. I can simply grab onto a vertice and move this as I need to. I can add a vertice, simply click and then drag here. I can also shift this entire block. So I want to shift or move the block. I can come over to this tool here and simply grab onto the block that I want to shift, and I can move this up, down, left, right, wherever it really needs to be. Okay. You can also delete blocks from the layer. So maybe if you have a shapefile and you don't want to analyze all those blocks, you can come in, you can delete one of the blocks from that without damaging the original shapefile, but you will limit the analysis to the blocks that are available here. Once you're happy with the blocks that you've created, you simply click accept, and you will move on to the next action. You'll see when an action has been completed, it has receives this check mark icon indicating that it's complete, and you can move on. The next piece here is detect palms. So we'll just click detect. Again, this is now where the deep learning model is running in the background, and you'll see that this takes a few moments to process. While this is processing, I'd like to point out a few other tools here in the interface. You can see down here in the lower right that we have some zoom tools. So if you're not using a mouse, you can also zoom in, or say a mouse with a scroll wheel. You can zoom in and out with the magnifying glass tools here. You also have this zoom to extent button. So if for whatever reason you're zoomed in, it can happen, you get lost within the context of your plantation, you can zoom out to the full extent of the input image. Also on the right-hand side here, we have this panel with the various layers that are available. Here in my images, I have my orthophoto. I can also view the DSM. We'll look at that afterwards. By default, I'm always in this orthophoto view. And once vector files are created during an action within the application, those will be listed under the vector layer field here. You can always turn vector layers on and off just by clicking the little eye icon here. And you also have the ability to change the colors of the vectors from our default parameters. So you can click that square and enter a color palette. In addition, here you also have an export option, and that is where you see the screenshot being listed here. You can click this screenshot button to export the various screenshots that you may take during the application. Okay, so we're approaching the end here. taking a little longer on my machine today because, of course, I'm broadcasting at the same time using a number of my graphical resources, but we're almost complete. Christian, maybe we'll just, as this is completing, are there any questions that have come in the background?
Not yet, Keith.
Okay, so we're at 99%, and soon we'll see the magic happen. Just hold on 1 or 2 moments here, and the palms will display. One other thing that's worth mentioning while this completes is that you also have, see this icon up here, the project folder. This, if you click this, this will automatically open we create a project folder for each project that you create, and this will automatically open that folder with all the results that are in there. So excellent, we have our results now. I can zoom in and take a look here. And they look good at this stage, so I will accept the palm detection. And I will move on to an edit results phase of the analysis. What this edit results phase does is it breaks the blocks into various a number of tiles. And I can see that I have 38 tiles that have been created over the 2 blocks that I generated here. And this we offer a manual correction phase here. The user must go through at least 10 tiles to train and optimize the algorithm. Within this training phase, you have the option to delete any palms that maybe were misclassified. You can add palms, you can adjust the crown sizes, all very easily here. So we can come down to the various buttons. First of all, you have a button here if all the palms that were detected within tile are not correct, you can simply delete all. You can undo a tile Q&A if you made a mistake. You can, of course, skip or ignore a tile. And finally, you can approve this tile. So I'm just going to take a look here. The white palms are the palms that are within this tile. The palms marked here in this transparent black color, these are outside the tile. They're only there for visualization and for context purposes. You can ignore these in terms of the Q&A. Just concentrate on the palms that are marked here in white. So these all look good at the moment, and I will simply click approve. You'll see automatically we start to get some statistics here that 23 palms were marked as correct. Again, I can quickly go through these tiles. I can see here that everything looks good again. I will approve this tile once again. The tiles that come up, that's always sort of a random tiling that we go through. In case you have your tiles are split across multiple blocks, you will always be Q&Aing across multiple blocks. Again, everything looks very good at this point. We will continue. As you see, I've also accepted 3 out of 38 tiles here. Again, very nice detection done here. We will continue. Everything's still looking good. There's nothing growing here. If you want to double check, this is where the elevation data can be very helpful. I can simply come over and come to my DSM to double check here. So now I'm looking at my DSM and I see, yep, this is very low here, dark, and that there's really a palm missing from this location. I'll switch back to my orthophoto and I will approve this. Again, here, even in areas where our ortho maybe wasn't processed very well, we see some blurring going on. We were still able to get a very nice clean palm detection. If you made a mistake for whatever reason, maybe you clicked by accident, of course, you can come back here, undo that Q&A tile, or you can also go back to the previous tile. And at this point, the coloring marcation is different. You can see that the correct palms are shown in a light green. If there are any false palms, they'd be indicated in red, and missed palms in yellow. Again, you can always change that color just by coming over the vector piece and entering into this color palette. You can change it to whatever color you like. So I'll continue where I left off here. And I'll now accept this. This also looks good. I'm up to 7 tiles. Again, everything looking nice here. We will continue. Here again, it looks good, but let me just demonstrate how you can adjust the crown size in this area and potentially remove a palm. If for whatever reason I wanted to remove this palm, maybe it will pretend it was incorrectly identified. You simply click with the left-hand mouse button in the center of that palm. It will be removed from the analysis. If we want to add a palm, we simply do the same. We click center of the palm. And if I want to adjust the crown size, we can make the crown smaller by coming into the right-hand portion of this crown polygon and simply click in that right-hand portion, and that will decrease the size of this crown polygon. And to increase it, we come into the left-hand side of the palm, and we can simply increase the size of that palm. And once you're happy, again, you just click Approve tile, and you will advance to the next one. So here, maybe we don't want some of these smaller wild palms out in this area, so I'll simply delete this from the analysis, and we'll leave these others here, and I will continue. You'll notice once I make a change like this, so that was a missed palm, and now I see my error rate is immediately displayed here, and that will be updated as we go through this. So here I'm on tile 10. I can accept this. I can keep on going through this manual correction phase if I would like. You'll see now by approving this, again, I'm changing my statistics. My error rate is automatically updated here. So after you go through 10 tiles, you are now able to accept these results and continue with the analysis. So I'm going to accept here. I should mention before getting into the addressing that if I go into I can come back to this edit field. So right now I'm in the assign tree address action. I can come back to addressing, and I can click revert and go through and start editing my results again. So this revert is essentially an undo functionality, and you can come back and go in and make changes at any time. So I'll click over here, get back into the assign tree address field, and what we see here immediately is an arrow. So we are detecting various possible orientations that would be possible for assigning rows. So we have this select row orientation. I can simply accept this default. If I want to use different ones, we offer various row orientations that are detected, and you can simply use this button here to shuffle through the orientation as it will impact eventually the counting. So I'll use this one. I'm going to accept the orientation. The next thing I need to do is select the row count direction. So do I want to count from here, say right to left or left to right. You can use then these arrows to simply flip the rotation or the count direction arrow, and we can accept this. Now we will automatically detect not only the rows, but also the ghost trees at this stage. So I can come in and zoom in here. I see that there are some trees missing in this area. So that's where a ghost tree has been assigned. We automatically detect the rows here marked in yellow. This is an action that you will have to take for each block within your plantation. So at the moment, I'm going to accept this block. And in the next stage, because I created 2 blocks initially, I'm now going into the second block. You may have different planting orientations in your blocks, so that's why it's important to do this by block. So here, again, I'll change my rotation. Maybe we'll try a different one this time. I'll click accept, and then my count direction, I'll just accept this direction for now. And now the calculation is done. We find the ghost trees and calculate the rows. And finally, I have to accept this for this area. And once I have accepted both of or all my blocks, I can then continue and accept the entire action. I want to again stress when considering the tree address or the palm address action here. This tool is specifically designed for say the flatter plantations that are planted in a structured manner. So if you have a terrace plantation, we do not yet support tree addressing. And if you have a very unorganized, unorthodox planting distribution, it will obviously, you're not going to find rows where there are no rows. So take that into account here. We're going to accept the action. We then move on to the next task here, and this is finding gaps. So now we're looking for areas where palms are not growing. The user has several parameters that they can enter. You can specify a planting distance here, and you can specify a minimum gap area. So you can come in, use and enter the text here, your numbers, or you can use the sliders to adjust the planting distance as it is in your particular plantation. And you can also adjust this minimum gap area. So with 0, I'm going to be looking for any gaps. If you adjust this, you will not find gaps below the size that's listed here. So you can execute this action and the gap analysis will take place. So if I zoom in now to take a look at what was found, you can see that I found this larger gap running down the middle of my block, and I did not find these individual gaps here because I set this minimum gap area. If I'm not happy with these results, I said, well, I really do want to find the individual results, I can go and undo this, simply click revert. We will undo those results. You can come back in and adjust these parameters and click execute. If you're not interested in the gap analysis at all, you can simply click skip, and this will not be calculated. You will not have a gap shapefile as an export. You can continue without doing this if it's not of interest. So I'll click accept and move on to the next task. This is an NDVI analysis. I am working with RGB data here, as I learned most customers are flying only RGB. So I cannot calculate an NDVI here if I do not have my near infrared. But if you do have a near infrared enabled camera, all you need to do is assign the appropriate channel. So you have to assign the channel that matches your the red channel and the channel that matches your near infrared. And then you can define an NDVI threshold, and all the trees that are below that NDVI threshold that are maybe not as healthy, you could say, will be identified for use in all of the outputs. In this case, I have the opportunity to demonstrate how the skip button works because I do not have a near infrared layer. So I will just skip this action. You'll notice that if an action is skipped, it is also receives that indication here in the workflow. So if I open this project up, or if a colleague opens this project up at some point, they will see, yeah, they skipped the NDVI action at this point, and they will immediately know that this was not performed. Now we're in the final action. This is the export results. What we see in the export results action immediately is a breakdown of my block statistics. So I have here 2 blocks, get the area of each block, the number of trees, the number of palms that were identified in each block. Also, I have this radius range. So we have the radius in general. So you have here an average radius of 4.7 meters. But the range was between 4.4 and 5.0. Again, this is based on a 90% range, so we're cutting off outliers in the upper and lower 5%. You have the same breakdown for palm height, so you can see our average palm height as well as the range in palm height here. We also get an indication of the ghost trees per block, as well as your gap area per block. If I had done an NDVI analysis, I would have seen the average NDVI here, as well as the number of anomaly trees. So all the trees that were below a certain NDVI threshold would have been listed here as well. I have a default export folder here, and I will simply click export results now. We're generating the shape files for this. So you get an indication that my export was successful. Instead of now having to hunt and find my results, I can simply click the Open Results button here. And this will jump right into the folder that was generated. And we see the various shape files. So I have a shape file with my blocks, for my crowns, for my gaps, for the ghost trees, as well as then the trees. These are called project, the shapefile is called project trees because I'm using the project name that I assigned to this project is also reflected in the shapefile report generation. So if you gave your project a very specific name, that will also be listed here in the shapefile and will allow you later on, if you have multiple projects, you can mix all of these shapefiles and you can differentiate between the various shapefiles that were created. So we can take a look at the PDF report. I bring this over. So we get is an immediate breakdown. I calculated 2 blocks. I have a total tree count. I also get a nice indication of my overall accuracy here. So I had 99.8, incredible accuracy reading in this case. And I also get various statistics on the analysis itself, which I'll zoom in. We can look at this. So you can see how this analysis was done. We also review, say for controlling purposes, the user went through 11 blocks, or excuse me, 11 tiles. And these are the number of correctly found palms. So we have the one missed palm, so we had an error rate of 0.2% here. Planting distance parameters that were used, any of the parameters that were used to calculate NDVI or gaps are also reflected here. And then again, you get the statistical breakdown per block. We don't include the screenshots anymore because you have the option to create those yourself. So if we come in here and simply click screenshot, that will be created, and you can give this screenshot a name. I can call it final results, and I will save this. So now if I go and click my project folder, I can see here in my results folder, here are the individual results for that project. And here is my screenshot final results. I can simply click this, and I can view this in any photo application that may be out there. In addition to the shape files, like I said, we also include in the PDF, we also have a statistical CSV, and we can take a look at this. May look a little funky depending on how your comma delineation is done. So here, I simply need to change some of my settings, but you can see I can open this directly in Excel, and I can start looking at, I see my tree address field here. I get the X and Y coordinates, this confidence value, as well as the height and radius. If I had NDVI and anomaly, these values would be listed here as well. And I can start creating a statistical breakdown, some nice charts from this directly here in Excel. And it is all the trees that were detected, so you can get quite lengthy Excel spreadsheets here. Just a word of warning. Right. So that essentially wraps up our technical demonstration of the software. I mentioned we'd have some time for questions and answers. So Christian, have any questions come in, any feedback coming in from the attendees out there?
Yeah, we have now some question that's really nice. And the first question which comes in was, what exactly is a ghost tree compared to the gap area?
So a ghost tree is a tree, a physical, a position of a tree that could be planted within a gap. So the gap area is the complete area that is not planted, whereas ghost tree is a physical location, a specific point on the ground where a tree could be planted based on the distribution of the trees that you have in that block.
Great, thank you very much. The next question is here, is it possible to visualize the center of the trees? That means the positions of the palms in the software.
Within the application, this is not possible, but you have the output, of course. We output the center position of the tree itself.
We export it to a shapefile so that the customer can visualize the center position.
Correct. So
in
the palm position, the palm position output, so that the individual location will be a point shape file that you can visualize in JS. In terms of displaying the center of the tree in the application, it's not not essential for any analysis. So you can visualize the crown itself, but not the physical tree center.
Okay, great. There's also another question, how exactly is the address of a tree working? That means if the address starts with a line and then with the tree number, or it's the tree number and the line? What's the exact approach?
So the address is composed of three elements. First of all, the block ID. So if you have multiple blocks, 1, 2, and 3, the first number in that tree address will be 01 for block 1. Then it will be the row number, and that will depend on how you configured your row orientations. So it will then be row 01 for row 1. And then we begin counting, and this will depend on those orientation arrows that the user sets up in the address field. So you will maybe start counting from the lower left-hand side or the lower right-hand side, depending on the orientation parameters that the user defines. And you will say tree 01, 02. If there is a ghost tree in a row, that ghost tree, so maybe you have 01, 02, and then there's no tree, and then there's a tree again. That ghost tree will get the address, the tree address 03. The next real tree that is there gets number 4, 5, 6, and so on. So the tree number, or the palm number that is reflected in the address, considers ghost tree locations.
This is great. That means ghost trees, influence the address, of course, because
Yes.
if customers will plant a new tree, then to restart all the addresses from scratch
Exactly.
doesn't make
So
sense.
next year, when that tree is replanted, the addressing itself will not change. The only thing that will change is that you will have physically have a real tree at position 3, where in the previous year it had been a ghost tree.
Great, thank you. Next question is, if the customer has just the image data, no DSM data, there were here several questions. What is the influence of not having DSM data using the software or the results, the influence of the result? What is possible and what is not possible if customers don't have DSM information?
Mm-hmm. So if you are not working with the DSM data set, it's not a problem. You can still use the Oil Palm application 2.0. Your analysis will automatically register that there's no DSM there. A slightly different model is applied in the background, just to clarify the technicalities of it. User doesn't have to physically select whether there's a DSM or none. And we were able to get the accuracies very close. So the influence of having that DSM, particularly, let's say, for mature palms, will be very small. But where the DSM has its advantages is going after the smaller size palms. So if you are working in plantations with a lot of young mature palms, you would get a better automated result with a DSM. If you do not have DSM, it simply means that you may have to spend more time in that manual editing phase of the analysis to add those palms in. What I like to say, even when working with very small young palms, if you can see those palms in your DSM, there's a good chance that that's a good sign and good indication that these palms will have a good automated detection. If your DSM is not of a high quality or lacking completely, it makes it more difficult. It's more challenging to find those, and it'll just mean more investment on the manual editing side of things. But the overall, say, accuracy in mature palms is pretty similar with or without the DSM.
Thank you very much. That's currently, that were all questions, what I have currently here in my list. Okay.
Great. I just want to remind people, if there are existing oil palm customers out there, the application 2.0 has been available since Tuesday, November 12th. If anybody's doesn't have their maintenance contract up to date, please reach out to our teams, your local sales representatives, and we can get you information on this and get you working with Oil Palm 2.0 as quick as possible. And one other thing to mention before we close today is that all of our webinars, including the Oil Palm 2.0 webinar, are going to be hosted on our YouTube channel, eCognition TV. If you haven't had a chance to check this out, please go there. Give us 1 or 2, maybe 3 days to get the webinar online, but as you can see, there is a field extra for eCognition webinars, and you can view these all online as many times as you like for free. If you missed any of the information that was in the presentation today. If you had registered for this webinar over the Trimble Geospatial webinar website, you will also get a follow-up email with access to the recording. So there are multiple ways to view this information. And if there are no more questions, then I would like to thank you for attending today. And if you have any detailed questions, if something is not clear, always feel free to reach out to our support team, support@ecognition.com, and they will be happy to point you in the right direction and get you those answers. That being said, again, thank you for taking the time to attend today's webinar, and I hope to see you next time and hear back from you. Have a good day. Bye.